Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Fida talks. And we're joined by Melanie de Jong. And I guess what's quite nice about Melanie has been a member and a part of the community of Fida for since probably the beginning.
Mhm.
And she's gone on a really long journey and been part of the awards. So I guess the nice thing here is to show commitment and someone who's constantly got involved and been part of exhibitions and so on, and really sort of flourished and grown over the last few years. And I guess Melanie's got many stories that she probably could share. But before we showcase some of the work from Melanie, what I would like to hear from you is a little bit about your journey into art, fashion illustration, and then we can move into the work that you entered and why you entered and so on. So just your sort of beginning part of why you do what you do.
The beginning part of why I'm doing what I'm doing is the love for fashion, for craft, and a way to express myself. Maybe in a time when I was not that happy, I could lose myself in another world of painting and drawing and felt happiness. That's why I like to use sort of darkness in my work sometimes to maybe express myself or enlarge the beauty of the garments or the whatever the expression of the model is. um, I just started posting things online, and then I got noticed, and then it was a roller coaster of encouragement and including Fida and many others who liked my work. And then I thought, oh, I must be doing something right. And um, my journey is sort of, I don't know how to say that, weird or um, it's not that I'm really a dramatic person, but I love drama and a little darkness. And I didn't know that some people liked that style. And I think I am more capable of sticking to my own signature. And um, I don't know really the words for it, but I really loved my journey. It was a bumpy ride, but also with a lot of good things. And it made me richer as an artist and also as an illustrator. And I just wanted to be a fashion illustrator from, I think, 4 years old. So it's I like the way my journey evolved, of how you call it, the um, sorry, I'm lost for words.
Well, no, so I guess from my perspective, um, knowing you and knowing uh, I guess there's a few things because there's another artist who I know a little bit, and what is interesting about you is there's no sense of desperation to just put stuff out there or um, and everybody, not only you, has a hard time and a hard battle with social media, um, what's liked, what's not liked, where to go, am I lost? And I think what's really interesting about when we've spoken about your work and we've spoken about you going right, I need time to step back or I need to time to move forward. You're almost, you take control of your personal experiences mixed with your art practice and saying, does this feel right?
Mhm.
And is this the right time for me? how do I feel about what I'm doing, and almost saying I want to really love what I do rather than it being destroyed by, I guess, just making art for art's sake. And I think that's quite an important thing to hear. So when you say things and you tell me stuff or whatever regarding, right, I want to have a bit of time out here. I don't think the message is right at the moment, whether that's our message or whoever's message it is. And it's good. It means you're really in control of the process and the way that you're communicated within the world of fashion, illustration, art making. And it's quite nice to know that you having the courage to do that. And I
Yeah.
think that's quite important. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I guess there's a lot of pressure that things are just going to happen, and they don't. And as you know, we've been doing this since 2019. I've seen your work for as many years as that, nearly. And now, we're kind of coming to a crescendo of this is a good time. And a
Yeah.
lot of people will be thinking, when's my time? Or why isn't it my time? And the other side of it is some people come in, win and disappear. So
Yeah.
sometimes winning fast isn't always the way to success.
Yeah. I
And
think the best way to describe my journey is also at the moment I was when I was getting upwards, also with Vida, I had some problems in my private life and also my eyesight, but it was also stress related. So I took a step back. It was very difficult because I thought, oh my God, it's time now, and I have to, keep on going. But I lost myself, and also as an artist. So I took a step back and I discovered a whole new me. Um, I was drawing from the heart again, and also combined it with getting in a flow and in another world and of fashion. And so it doesn't matter um, what I have to say. I think people feel something when they see my work, and that's my story, I think I
yeah,
want to tell.
and I do. One thing I do know about your posts or your work that you share is there's a real sense of love for fashion. So some
Mhm.
people might draw fashion from aesthetics, or they draw it because that's pretty, or that this looks nice, where you're almost like an editor of fashion who looks for an image and has an appreciation for the image maker, the process that they went through, the
Yeah.
journey, almost like a historian showing that their respect levels of the past. And it's almost like there's a sort of bonding between the previous maker to you. And I
Mhm.
feel that if people do follow you, or people don't, or they now know of you, and they really have a look and they become more inquisitive of who is Melanie, who is her work, how do I break it down, how do I deconstruct what she does, and the real sort of because there's a combination of a few things. One is there's a degree of difficulty to what you do in the actual image making, the process, the technical skill, all of that. That's one part. Then there's the other part of image selection, composition, which is another part. And then there's the respect for fashion, history of fashion, and the garment, the fashion designer, and there's sort of like an interplay relationship between you and the information that you're gathering. So like a documentary archivist. And I think that's a really nice sort of interplay between your work and where it goes. And I think a lot of people get a little bit lost because they put so much into it, like you do. You're like, I'm not doing it for cosmetic reasons. I'm actually genuinely in love with the whole process. And I
Mhm.
feel, I've seen your work many times, and always there's a real strong connection with what you do, and it's you never know which is going to be the sort of winning pieces or what
Mhm.
pieces are really going to resonate. And this sort of person walking away is was quite an iconic picture. So I'm just going to share my screen because I want to share the work. Let me just. Find your piece. I'm on the computer too much. My eyesight's going. Right. So here was so I'm just gonna. So one of the things is like we were mentioned to Melanie is, we had an overall winner for the Fida Awards, and Melanie, we contacted her, and it was sort of an underground discussion between judges and artists and selecting a person to be, because we had all these different winners, and we really wanted to think about a person who represented the whole of awards and sort of went in there. So it was great that, Melanie, you managed to do this overarching win, which was great. And then I guess what would be nice, because this was one of the other pieces that got entered and got accommodation. So I guess it would be nice for you to explain your thought process behind it and why you did this.
First of all, I love Dries van Noten as a designer. I always drawn to pictures that telling me something, like the appearance of the model in combination with the clothes. I like to enlarge the earrings or something. Yeah, I think it's like combination of beautiful things combined. And she had a beautiful look, but also mysterious, and an editorial look I'm always looking for, actually. So the darkness behind her is just because I want to let you focus more on on her appearance, and also maybe a Renaissance painting, because they used to paint the garments and the earrings so detailed. I just wanted to give you a glimpse of how they used to portray women. That's the real reason behind the picture.
And also you have the little bit of typography down the bottom, like these
Yeah,
little visual notes, which
yeah.
I really like, and they add a real nice sort of twist to the work that you're doing. And I
And
feel
this is really a small painting, smallest I've done in years. I think it's like a postcard size.
wow,
Yeah,
and it's really detailed.
yeah.
It's great. And one of the questions I've been asking people at the last few talks, like I was speaking to Tracy yesterday, is um, where do you see? So you've done the awards, you've been part of FIDA, and and we've had exhibitions. And where do you see you could potentially go now? I know that's a hard question, but I know organically it just happens. But if you were kind of thinking about, right, okay, what are my next goals? What are the goals? Do you have goals?
Um, Now my goal was to I already have my goal, because winning the award was huge. Also, especially that painting meant a lot to me, because maybe I can tell it later, but I already yeah, I'm satisfied, but I'm always dreaming of different things. Maybe
This one.
making a book. What you just said, like, I'm almost an historian. I love to portray garments and fashion through the ages. Maybe that's my goal. Yeah, to
Yeah.
be. Uh,
And because I spoke to Pete of Paris, and he would be someone interesting for you to speak to. I don't know. I don't know if you saw my interview with him, but I'll share it with you because it's fascinating to see. So one thing that Holland, the Dutch Art and Fashion Council are doing is now, because of what happened with Vincent van Gogh, they were like, we can never let that happen again. We can never let an artist be who was great be missed or
Mm-hmm.
not archived or not documented. So they're now going around looking for creatives that are Dutch, that live in Amsterdam or Holland or wherever, and they're saying, okay, we need to select them, and whether they're poets, painters, illustrators, and he's one of them.
Mm.
And he told me that they so if he invoices someone, he has to send them a copy. Anything he does, they need a copy of it. So
Okay.
they're documenting his whole process, his whole life, everything he does. So when he potentially dies or whatever, they can say, this person was part of our DNA. He worked with Victor and Rolf. He's done all of this stuff. And this is how he lived. This is how he
Yeah.
worked. So I'll send you the interview because I think it'd be really good for you to watch. And just to understand that there is a market out there for this sort of archiver, documenter of history of fashion. And, you know, this idea of having a book, how would the images be printed within the book? Because I know you're very critical over everything. You know, everything has to be perfect. Just how would that print work on certain paper? You know, and could it be sourced locally? All them little things. And I think, you know, looking at your work and you having that sort of story, and even if you go and think about, right, a really nice person who has done something a little bit like this is Jessica Rhodes, Jess Bird.
Yes,
Is she had become part of Roxanda's journey, and she constantly went to her shows, and as she said, she never got paid. She just loved her design, become part of her process, and now she's part of the conversation with her, with Roxanda. So I wonder if with people like Dries Van Norton, and you think, okay, how do I get into the conversation rather than using social media as the space? If you made a book and it's a little book, really nicely made, and you send him a copy and you say, you know, I've dedicated this piece of design
mm-hmm.
from looking at your work and analyzing it, and I just love you to have it. And when I was a student many years ago, I used to screen print everything, hand make it, and deliver it. And we've lost that process a little bit with social media. And the great designers of the now, the Dries Van Norton, the Raf Simons, all these great people, they love handmade, tactile, beautifully designed pieces. So if
Mm-hmm.
you think, what would I love to receive as a creative, or what would I love to give that represents me and could be part of something that I've got? This idea of a little book, a small book that could be in a bag, A6, that's quite postcard size, and has, you say, well, I'm going to do 16 images and I'm going to write my thoughts on each design and send it to him, beautifully printed. It could be saddle stitch bound or however you want to do it, sewn bound. And then think of, and just things like that. And I think that would be a magical thing for you to do, not only for yourself, because you could exhibit, you make 2 or 3 copies and then you keep one and exhibit. So I guess that's been my biggest question is where next? It's nice, you know, because as you say, and like a lot of people, the goal is to do the awards, which is great. But my goal isn't the awards. My goal is always, where are you going to go next in the commercial side to
Mm-hmm.
grow and blossom to make
Maybe
yourself a bigger success?
maybe I said it wrong. It's not the goal to have an award, but it's one of my wishes,
Yes, yes.
dreams I had.
We're glad that we're one of your wishes.
But I already achieved a lot lately, and also before with the exhibitions, and I think I'm always I have a very lovely life. I live uh, in a little town and or village actually, and it's quiet. That's good for me as an artist to get in a sort of flow to create. Um, that was the best thing I ever did, to go find myself a place where I could create and be myself. Um, my biggest achievement is finding myself as an artist, taking myself serious in what I make and what I do, um, and never forget the love or passion for things, and be grateful. And my goal is to, yeah, I want to keep making things and making bigger things, um, uh, bigger paper size
Yeah.
things. And that's my challenge, because I like to keep it small, but I have to, in order to give myself some more purpose, I think I have to be bigger, think bigger.
Yeah. It's a hard one because a lot of people might say maybe it's better to go smaller. But it's I think the idea of, when I look at your work and I'm seeing this piece and you're talking about a book, and I see you as quite intellectual with what you do. And
Mm.
I think thinking about it being of a good quality and manageable, because some of us say I want to make large prints or I want to make paintings. Well, I really think your work, yes, I'd love them big, I'd love them massive, but I also think I'd love them small, and I'd love them to be quiet. You're talking about quiet, someone in a corner, and there's a
Mhm,
little burning fire, and they're looking at your book and they're looking at the drawings, and they're almost being able to transport to another place, being able
mhm,
to dream. And I think sometimes that's quite nice to be quiet and small. And I think sometimes your art needs to represent you in that way. And I
mhm,
think, to see the sort of journey transition of this work, I think, and if you give that sort of challenge to yourself, I think a lovely little book and something quite small and something quite personal to you in
mhm.
reflection to the shows and just how you operate. Because I know how you operate. And I just feel that it would be a bit of therapy doing it,
Yeah.
something quite magical making it, and going through that sort of process. And how creatives spend their money in investing in themselves, making things that are relevant, and how do you get people to then engage back and invest in you? Because you want to be a professional artist, you need investment. And I
Mhm,
think part of that process would be really nice. So thinking, so also places that you could visit to then potentially show this work. That's that should be in your challenge. Is okay, one part of the puzzle is making this art. The next part of the puzzle is who could showcase this that would really be beneficial to what I'm doing. Like if there's a fashion museum, is there a small gallery somewhere that is respectful and really would love the work? And I feel that's where I want to see this work. I really want to see it in the right sort of conversation, the right sort of place. This is why I do what I do, is trying to see how artists, fashion illustrators, and creatives actually showcase their work in the best way possible, which they can afford. So we have to work in the parameters of affordability and best exposure and showcase. So I think, in your little list of things to do is just to consider, where's this work going to go? What's the sort of future of this piece? Because I think this piece is stunning, and it was a lovely piece. But I know you make so many as well. You've got so many other good pieces as well, and it's like, right, there's more magic here. Um,
yeah.
and I think we how that translates through you. maybe it is a series of books. I don't know. This is a conversation, you can kind of think and repitch, and that's the other part is with members and artists is the little group of us that we have is to then for us to have a dialogue and do this. Why am I doing this? What's the point? How am I going to do that? And it's sort of like I'd call it like a critical forum of debate, and then because most people, as you said, there is a lot of love and care within the group, and people are very nice to each other, and we try and be quite critical but not horrible. But as I said, Mel, I'd probably spoken too much because it's your award. We were meant to have like the poppers and the champagne, and but we always go into deep conversation. But because your work is deep and it deserves, I guess, a more thorough, deep discussion around
Yeah.
what you do. Because I know you, and I know you take it really seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no messing. And and you're really passionate. When I see you in Paris, and you're like and you're very passionate about what you do, and you're 150%, which I think is really nice to see. And also like your brother and your family, everyone's involved in this process.
Yeah,
So it's
they really are.
they are,
Yeah, my
and
mom,
it's great.
she heard you saying like February, so she said, "Oh, is there um an award, a special time to present the awards?" I said, "I don't know. I think maybe I get it to the mail." She said, "No, no, I heard February." So I
Yeah,
think
so
she's coming
February
to.
we're planning on the Saturday night, and I'll send you an invitation and stuff because
Yeah,
we've done awards and a few people know about the awards, and for me it feels like a lost moment to just having an award. I want
yeah,
to have an exhibition, I want to have a party, I want there to be a fashion show. As you know me, more, and I'm trying to get that and make it our own, having full autonomy over the show, that it's ours, and we don't have to do any bowing down to anybody. So it's this is, I would call, our first true exhibition, Fida style, the way
yeah.
I want it, potentially where the fashion, art, and illustration is forefront and the controller of the show. So, and we'll be discussing with everybody about their work and showcasing it. And there'll be an event on the Saturday of the 10th. So hopefully you'll put it in your diary. We're organizing all the awards and stuff. So put it in that diary, Melanie. You'll be contacted soon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that everybody's looking and watching as much as you. So it's good. But I guess I don't know if you've got anything else to say. But as I said, we keep these quite short. We wanted to see you and
Yeah,
listen to what you have to say and about this piece of work, which I think was and also I guess what would be quite nice is why did you select this image to reference and explain? I guess explain a little bit about it because
yeah,
we've been chatting away, but
yeah.
I want to hear about it.
Okay, this is Molly Goddard's collection, and I wrote it down. It's really about the clothing and the way it's presented, and we sometimes distracted because of the lights, the audience, the people are flashing with their phones, and I want to make it more about the garment and the model and the way she walked. It turned out to be a little bit angelic, religious kind of feeling. It's the first time I dared myself to put the darkness in and to give it a little light, so you can still see a bit of the audience, but you have to look really closely. And I played with darkness, light, and shadow a little bit, um, like Rembrandt van Rijn, the Dutch artist. And yeah, I think it turned out well. it
It's
meant a
great.
lot to me personally, because there's also a message for myself in it to always remind me of light. So it was like yeah, double excitement, because I I added something personal to me into the painting. Yeah.
It's really nice, and the subtleties. There's so many. It's so subtle, and I think that's what's really you can't get this. No matter if you tried in digital, 1,000 people would try, but you can't get the magic. And I think the subtleties and the tonality of color, you know, everything was sort of working. And I love that you've got the little characters hidden in that streak of light in the background. That was what was really fascinating to me, is who are these two people, and they
Yeah.
have a chat, and I that's what added the next magic layer. Without them people, I think it wouldn't have been as good. But it was just nicely that they just hidden in that bit of light, so there feels like, oh, there's a room. There are people in there. It's not just a black void, and I think that's what's quite really magical. And as I said to you, you're using, which is always good, is you're layering it up with Rembrandt and the history of art, and it's informing what you're doing. This is what we always talk about, is making a piece of work, but informing it by others that have inspired you, and religion and iconic and shape. You know, if we look at the triangulation, you think of the Bauhaus, think of there's the golden rule, the idea of perspective. So you're looking into the picture. There's so many little tricks that history of artists have designed to think about composition, which you really like. If we look around it, and we're transported in through this person to the top. So as an abstract piece of art, it forms this sort of shape as well. So you go in, and then you kind of come back, and you go in again. So it's like this sort of tunnel experience. And I think that people don't necessarily consider that. And I think, and it maybe sometimes it comes naturally because you've looked at it so much and you've understood about composition. And I think that's always a really good thing that you have pulled out. And this was the magical piece. So, you know, Melanie, well done. And we're proud to see it happen. And we're proud to see that, you know, people like Nick Knight and really top leaders, I would say, industry leaders, looking at work and picking the work and saying, this is the work that is shaping fashion illustration, and take notice. And it's good. We want these people in the conversation, and they're coming. So it's nice that you're being recognized and the work's being seen. So great
That's a
stuff,
huge
Melanie.
compliment. Yeah. Also from Nick Knight. It's someone who I admire.
We all do.
Yeah.
we all can play it down, but at the end of the day, he's a real interesting selector of fashion and fashion illustration as well. And he really wants to sort of bring it into the forefront. We're speaking to the gallery quite a lot, and we're just trying to see how we coordinate with them with what work really could resonate in their space. And I think, you know, all time will tell, Melanie. So it's all good stuff. But well done. Congratulations. And we'll be talking soon, and you'll hear more from us.
Yeah.
And we've got lots to plan with you anyway. So this is just the beginning of the next show,
Yeah.
of part two in the chapter, or part three. But well done, Mel, and thank you for today. And
Welcome.
thank you for your
Thank
time
you
and
too.
everything.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do I have to leave?
Yeah, we're all good. All right, see you soon.
Okay.
Bye bye, Mel. Bye bye.